afternoon. My name is Kevin Randolph. I'm here at our church and I was going to share with you, continuing to share with you, the 8 laws of health. But before we start, I want to say that life is a gift from God. He gave us life, and He gives us means to keep our life, our longevity, I should say. I'd like to start with a verse from the Bible. In 3 John, verse 2, it said, "Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in good health." So John was writing, telling those people at the church that he wanted them to be in good health. And that's what I want for you and myself, is to be in good health. And also in Jeremiah, in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 29, chapter 30, verse 17. And this is the Lord speaking. I'll read the first half. It says, "For I will restore health unto thee, and I will heal thee of thy wounds, saith the Lord." So the Lord wants us to be in good health, and if we're having ailments, then He has the remedies, natural remedies to heal us. And that's what we're talking about when we're talking about the 8 laws of health. And is there conditions? Yes, we have to be obedient, just as like every law of society, law of God, law of our health also. We have to be obedient to those laws to gain the benefit from them. So what we put in our body, we know, is what comes out. Our lifestyle dictates how long we live. If we have a healthy lifestyle, we tend to live longer. And if we have a bad lifestyle, we're going to live less, and because disease takes control of our system. But whatever, we have remedies in God's Word that can, natural remedies that He's given us to heal ourselves, even if we're in a state of need, of debility, and our health is not the best. It can be improved. And last week, our YouTube experience that we had was concerning nutrition. And I only gave a small part of nutrition. It's such a wide area to study. We could talk about nutrition forever, but I'm just doing the 8 laws of health and a little piece of each one to hopefully let you know the importance of it for your life. Because we don't want to retire in this world and be in hospitals with or at home on respirators and different things when it can be prevented. So the sooner we start taking care of our bodies, the better it's going to be for us as our life goes on. And talked about nutrition last week, a couple of important parts, because nutrition and exercise is what we're talking about today, go hand in hand. I think they're like brother and sister. They work upon one another and they help one another do the job it needs to do for our body. What we put in, and then the exercise helps those things moving around in our body. I'll give you some examples later. But we talked last week about nutrition, the importance of, and I primarily talked about how bad fat is in our system, and sugar. Both of those things are debilitating to our system and are not good for us. We know that, and we tend to like our Zuzus and Wham Whams, I call them, all of our pastries and things like that. But they're not healthy for us. And I'll explain why here in a moment. But as far as exercise go, we're talking about today, there's 4 categories primarily of exercise. There's cardio or endurance exercise. There's strengthening exercise, and there's also flexibility and balance. So all of these work in different exercises, but primarily today we're talking about cardio. We're talking about to move the movements in our body to help us to help our blood flow better. And there's a couple of things when I say that nutrition and exercise work together. What we put in has a great deal to do with how our blood flows, and the exercise helps that blood flow. So it affects our heart, our mental stability. It helps our stature, our posture, and how we age. It helps all those areas. And if you don't use it, you lose it. If you leave a piece of equipment out in the field or something and let it sit there, it's just going to rust and decay. Same thing with our body. If we're not active and using it, we're going to it's going to fall apart, I should say. I had a dear friend that I used to tell him, I worked with him, and I says, you walk so slow. No, what did I say? I said, if you walk any slower, you're gonna fall over. Because, you see people walking just so slow. Everything they do is just very slow. How do you think their body inside is reacting to these such slow movements? Now, I'm a high energy person per se, for the most part, and I walk a lot, and I move a lot in my job as a chef. Even in the kitchen, you have some things where you're standing and chopping and things, but the most part you're moving around most of the day here and pulling carts and things, so there's exercise there. So whatever exercise you do, it's only going to help you. I'm taking, this is a book that I've taken this information out of, Proof Positive. Neil Nedley is a medical doctor. He studied at Andrew University in Michigan and also in Loma Linda in California. And this book was edited by another doctor, David DeRosa. And there's a lot of input and a lot of information in this book. If you're interested in health and living a healthy lifestyle, this is a very good book to have. Another good book is Back to Eden. This was written early 1900s, but it has all kinds of different recipes in it. It tells you how herbs work. It tells you what good herbs and what bad herbs. It tells you how to treat asthma, how to treat heart disease, how to different herbs and vegetables and fruits and things, and how they interact with the body. Very good book to have also is Back to Eden. It's both of those books are very good, and you can find them online and order them if you would like to. They're not overly expensive. But I tell you, whatever you spend for your health now, you don't have to pay the doctors later. Okay? So just keep that in mind. Whatever we do to help our lifestyle and help to have a healthy body, it don't come out of our back pocket later. So people say, organic vegetables, they're expensive. Yeah, they are a little more expensive. But I tell you, they're much healthier for you. They have a much better vitamin content, and they don't have a lot of the chemicals and things that we find in our vegetables. Whatever vegetables and fruit, always wash it. I'll just say that right off the bat. Always wash it. Even the lettuces that are pre-washed, they're treated with chemicals. I believe you should wash them as well. Back to health, just an example. My grandfather, he lived to be 84, and he died chopping firewood. He was very healthy throughout his life. I can't remember him ever going to the doctor or being in the hospital for anything. My grandmother as well. She lived to be about in her 90s, another 10 years after he passed. But they lived a healthy. They lived on a farm. He was he worked out in the garden, and he done physical exercise. He didn't have the best diet per se, and I think he died of a stroke chopping firewood. So that tells me that his arteries were clogged to cause him to have a stroke. But and that's because of the diet. He did have a garden. They canned all their vegetables. He had a well that had fresh water with no chemicals in it, right out of the ground. He had, but he also ate animal products. He had cows and pigs and chickens and stuff. That was a part of their diet, and which is high in fat. And we won't get into the nutritional value and things of meat at this time. But I will tell you concerning health and how there's two things that make our body function well or not so well when it comes to cardio and how the blood flows in our system and the oxygen and everything that works. And one is LDL, and it's a low density lipoproteins. And you find them in your cakes and your pastries and the oils and meat and the fats of meats, a lot in pork and dairy. You find those in that, and we call those bad cholesterol. That's the things that plug your arteries, the platelets that get stuck in your arteries and keeps your blood from flowing, causes high blood pressure, etc., and so on. And we also have the HDL, which is high density lipoproteins, and these are found in. This is one of the better ones, avocado in its natural state, and I'm not talking about avocado oil. Out of its natural state, I'm talking about the natural. It's high in fat, but it's a good fat, and also beans and legumes, nuts, whole grains, flaxseed, chia seed, and high fiber fruits. All your melons and stuff. All these are high density lipoproteins. And what they do, why they're so important to decrease on one and increase the other, because the high density proteins carry the bad back to your liver. It goes into your cells and where the fat lies in your system, and it pulls those back out and it takes them to your liver so they can be distributed through your system and out of your body. Heart disease, coronary artery disease, we know they clog the heart and they keep the blood from flowing, and that's why I say high energy or move around a lot. Exercise is so important because it makes these high density the HDL go up in your body. It increases them with exercise, so it helps. It helps keep from having heart attacks and strokes, and I'm looking at my notes here, and many other health problems. But how they complement each other is, like I said earlier, the diet, what you put in, is one thing, and the exercise that you put behind it helps everything move properly. And we'll talk about water. The next video is very important. I won't get into that today, but water is extremely important for your system, for your body. Pure, clean water. I'm not talking about water tainted with tea, and et cetera, and so on. We'll talk about it later. We want to burn calories. When I talk about cardio, we want to burn calories. At least 750 calories a week is what the doctor professionals have said that will help us have a healthier lifestyle and live a healthier life. And to give you an example of some exercises and things that you do, for 150 calories, you can, I wrote them down there, 150 calories you can burn by a 30-minute brisk walk, a 30-minute outdoor work like raking leaves or working in the garden or whatever outside activity that's strenuous, digging ditches or whatever. 20-minute swim or 15-minute run. All of them will burn roughly about 150 calories. And that's what we need. And these studies that were not done for smokers. So if you're a smoker, quit smoking. And I can give you a couple things. Exercise will help that also, help you to quit smoking. It helps move the bad stuff that smoking causes out of your system through sweating and things like that. And another trick that I used to be a smoker. I smoked for many years, and thank the Lord I overcome and was able to do that. Two key things. I prayed, asked the Lord to help me, and I was in a location. It was at a camp meeting, and I was in a location where I couldn't get to cigarettes. I was there studying the Bible every day with a lot of people, and I had 3 days where I wasn't smoking. So that really helped get me a jump start. I'd never gone 3 days. I'd always cut back, but it was very difficult. Some people use patches, but whatever helps you to quit smoking. It's vital to your health that you quit smoking. My father and my brother both died of smoking, diseases caused from smoking in their 50s. So it's very important. The longevity of life is very much shortened if you're a smoker. I pray that you're able to, if you smoke, I pray that you're able to overcome that. A helpful hint, though, what I did, after I come back, it was a day-to-day struggle. I said, this is not going to overcome me. I'm going to overcome it. So it's a choice that we have to make, and to be a firm choice. Putting our will to work is very important if we're going to live a healthy lifestyle. We have to choose to do it. And same with exercise. A lot of people say, well, my legs hurt or this hurt, and I have an article I'll read about that. Yeah, they do. But you got to start somewhere. You have to start somewhere, or you will continue to be debilitate your system. But half a lemon and a glass of water will take a craving for cigarettes away. So I went through a lot of lemons when I came back home over the course of a couple of weeks. Half a lemon and a glass of water will take a nicotine craving away just immediately. So cardio training, we're talking about that. We're talking about the diseases that it helps. It increases the HDL that we had mentioned. And it decreases heart disease. It decreases high blood pressure, cancers, strokes, improves insulin sensitivity. It decreases tendency of blood to clot. And the more exercise, like I said, the higher the HDL is able to help your system and move. And next here it says, it also helps your mind to be clear. You don't understand how all these things in your system clogs the veins, and it helps the blood flow. It slows down the blood flow. To even your thinking will improve if you're on a high HDL diet. Alzheimer's patients. I always say old timers. It's Alzheimer's patients. They've done a study in it, and you can find that in this Proof Positive. The medical profession done a study, and they didn't include smokers in this study, but they was dealing with patients in a assisted living facility, and they had aerobic exercises. So they had one group that done exercise, and they had one group that they had conversation therapy, talking about their family and trying to bring back memories to them. You know, they found in the experiments that 40% of those that had exercise improved their ability to remember, and their mind got improved. 40%. That's a significant improvement from exercise. In the conversational therapy, they didn't have hardly any significant change at all. So exercise is very important for Alzheimer's patients and those with dementia. Other benefits, it strengthens our bones. We had one of our young people in church said, I want to be as strong as she is referring to somebody at our White Creek Wellness Center. I did bring a brochure for White Creek Wellness Center here somewhere. I thought I had it. We have a White Creek Wellness Center. It's in Deer Lodge, Tennessee. And anyhow, one of our sisters that worked there has been in a health message for a long time, is very healthy. She's in forgive me if I quote this wrong, but I know she's in her 60s somewhere, I'm pretty sure, in her later 60s. And this young person was saying that she just hopped right out of the pickup truck. You know, bones are healthy. When you have a good diet, everything works on the system, and she has a healthy lifestyle and has for years. And she helps run the White Creek Wellness Center there in Deer Lodge, Tennessee. They help getting people on the right diet using the 8 laws of health. They do a lot of hydrotherapy and things, but if you're interested, call them. You can look it up on the internet. Deer Lodge, Tennessee, it's White Creek Wellness Center. Give them a call. They can help you, and they have little sessions where they give seminars and things like that and try to help people naturally heal their bodies and get them on a program that would benefit them for their lifestyle. Also, it prevents and controls diabetes. We talked about diabetes in diet, but it also in exercise helps prevent and control obesity, because everything is moving and it's getting, when you sweat, it gets rid of all that fat and stuff that's clogging your system. Decreases risk of certain cancers, primarily lung and colon, are significant due to exercise. Anxiety, depression, stress, circulation, arthritis, all these are benefits of exercise and a good diet. I'll keep throwing that in there because they're kind of put together. They're brother and sister, I think, in as far as a healthy lifestyle goes. And all the 8 laws of health, they're all laws that we believe that each one of them are significant for us, and that's why I wanted to present these topics on YouTube to maybe help other people to receive what I have. I've been vegetarian. I started out vegan in about 2006, but somewhat practicing a little bit before that. But I call myself a cheating vegan because I do have some dairy and things in my diet occasionally, and not necessarily milk. I drink almond milk, but a lot of the products that we buy have dairy in them, so I can't call myself a true vegan if I'm eating those things. But anyhow, I can tell a life, and my experience has been great. As far as when I was in my 40s, I was fatigued. I felt arthritis starting. My joints hurt, and my muscles were getting weak. And I got on an exercise program, and what I had, the flab under the arm, is gone. It's all tight now. My stomach's trimmed down. There's a lot of benefits that, and I feel like I'm healthier now than I was 10 years or 15 years ago. I can promise you that. So I encourage you to, whatever state and whatever mindset you're in, whatever you can do the little things is going to be helpful to you. I am going to share a soup recipe after I talk about exercise, that is a really healthy summer soup that is delicious and really good for you. Lack of exercise. Lack of exercises causes up to 1/3 of the deaths in America. Why? From 3 major diseases. Heart disease, that we're talking about, cardio, getting that blood to flow in different parts of your body, your circulation, all that, colon cancer, and diabetes. All 3 of those are noted for exercise to be able to help those a great deal. And lack of exercise cause those to be more prominent. It says 1/3 die in America because of lack of exercise, lack of movement. You see people in Walmart able to walk around, but they choose to get on the little buggy and ride around instead of exercising and walking. We find a lot of people that are overweight, their knees hurt, and they choose to do that. But that's not going to reverse what's going on in your body. You have to choose and make that choice yourself to have a better lifestyle and for you to heal, for your body to heal. You have to make changes in your life. It's just the fact of it. It's not going to happen automatically. It's a choice of your own that you have to make. Sometimes it's a hard choice. The greatest battle is against self, yeah? Exercise circulates our blood and is vital to our health, it says. And I'd like to read something from Counsels to Health, page 52, and it's also found in the testimonies on volume 2, 2T 528 to 533. It's in that area, but it doesn't give specifics here, and I didn't look it up before. So I'll like to read this. It says, there are more indolent, inactive ones who are are disinclined to physical labor or exercise because it wearies them. I found this out when I was out digging a ditch, how quickly I wore out. And a friend of mine that was a little older than I continued digging. And I said, I just wore out. I'm exhausted. And this was a reason, because I didn't exercise enough. I wasn't building enough muscle, and my endurance was weakened. And he was quite old. No, I wouldn't say quite old. He was older than I, a few years older. But his stamina was much higher than mine was. And it says, and then the question is, what if it does weary them? Question. The reason why they become weary is that they do not strengthen their muscles by exercise. Therefore, they feel the least exertion. How often does that happen when we get a little bit overweight and we go to exercise, our muscles are weak? I'm just wore out. I just can't do it. Well, you start where you can and you build. You don't have to start with running a marathon. You start with a brisk walk, and then as you're able to walk better, maybe you can jog. Maybe you start with a 1/4 of a mile or whatever you can do, and as you practice it, you become better, and it extends into longer walks, and then you can run, and then your legs get stronger, and your body and your lungs. And the exercise outside in the fresh air is the best exercise you can have. A lot of exercise programs. We'll talk about how important fresh air is to our body later on in another section, but fresh air is very important, and what exercise you can get outside is much better than inside exercise. Okay? He goes on to read, if invalids would recover health, they should not discontinue physical exercise, for they will thus increase muscular weakness and general debility. Bind up the arms and permit it to remain useless even for a few weeks. Then free it from the bondage, and you will discover that it is weaker than the one you have used moderately during the same time. How often do we have hospital people laying in the bed at the hospital, and they have to go to rehab because their muscles they can't even hardly walk anymore because their muscles haven't been used for a certain amount of time, and they gotta build up muscle in their legs and be able to walk again, or whatever part of their body is not being used. If it's not being used, it's going to lose. Just the natural law of health. It goes on to read, Inactivity produces the same effects upon the whole muscular system. So it's not just our arm or this, the whole muscular system. And you know, we have muscles from our toes to our head. Our body's covered with muscles and tendons. So whatever we don't use, it's going to produce the same effect. The blood is not enabled to expel the impurities as it would in active circulation were induced by exercise. So I mentioned that. Why people get sick in the winter and the summer, more in the summer, it's not necessarily because of the cold weather. A lot of times it's because we don't exert our bodies and we don't sweat as much in the winter. Therefore, the impurities stay in our body. And one thing that HDLs do also, that increases our immune system. So we need that also, but exercise with that, it helps discrete those out of our system. When the weather will permit, all who can possibly do so ought to walk in the open air every day, summer and winter, it says. But the clothing should be suitable for the exercise and the feet should be well protected. A walk, even in winter, would be more beneficial to the health than all the medicines the doctors may prescribe. You know, doctors' medicines, they're not there to heal you. They're there to mask the symptom, to cover it up until the body heals itself. You know, when you get a headache, you ever wonder why or where the headache come from? You take an aspirin or a Tylenol or whatever it be, and the headache goes away. All it does is block the nerve endings, keep your head from hurting, and we take that relief. But what caused the headache to begin with? I'll give you one. Water is the number one thing. Anybody goes to the hospital, what's the first thing they do? They put an IV and give them drips of to rehydrate their body, because almost everybody is dehydrated. And we'll talk about that next session in water. Water is so important to our body. It says, let me go on here. A walk, even when let me go on down. For those who can walk is preferably to riding. The muscles and the veins are enabled better to perform their work. There will be increased vitality, which is so necessary to health. The lungs will have needful action, for it is impossible to go out in the brisk air of the winter morning without inflating the lungs. How many people do we know that hit retirement and their life kind of went down and they don't live a great deal after that because they're not exercising, they're not physically doing it. They think they can just go to the golf course or whatever, enjoy life. And well, enjoying life, you still have to work. You still have to exercise your body. You still have to move, or your body becomes debilitated. It says, and it goes on to say here, just what I'm talking about, riches and idleness are thought to be some of the blessings indeed. But what do they happen? But when some persons have acquired wealth or inherited it unexpectedly, their active habits have been broken up. Their time is unemployed, they live at ease, and their usefulness seems at an end. They become restless, anxious, and unhappy, and their lives soon close. Those who are always busy and go cheerfully about their performance of their daily tasks are the most happy and healthy. The rest and composure of night brings to them their weary frames unbroken slumber. You want to rest well, you haven't rested sleep, exert yourself a little bit and you'll rest better. Your body becomes tired and fatigued, and when you go to bed, you'll be ready to sleep. You won't be so anxious to sit up in your mind all over the place. You will rest better. When we talk about diet, there's a certain time when your body wants you to eat, and when it starts losing, that time is after 6 p.m. Your body's ready to slow down, and the digestive slows down, and everything as the night falls. So it's better to eat before that time, and then your body goes through its digestive process before you go and lay down to sleep. A lot of people eat before they go to bed thinking it's beneficial. What does it do? It takes all the blood to the stomach, and instead of taking it and healing all the parts of your body that's supposed to happen during rest, and we'll talk about rest too in a later session. But rest is very important, and if we don't know how to get good rest, we'll wake up tired and fatigued. How many times have you waked up 8 hours? I can't get up, and the longer you sleep, the more tired you get. Makes sense, huh? It says exercise will aid the work of digestion. So if we exercise, take a nice walk after we eat, it'll help the digestion. We don't need to eat and go to bed. Okay, it doesn't help the digestion system at all, and it causes restless sleep. To walk out after a meal, hold the head erect, put back the shoulders and exercise moderately will be of great benefit. The mind will be diverted from self into the beauties of nature. We're seeing out there, we don't think about our stomach. We think about our stomach all the time. It's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. It says, forget self and think something cheerful. It helps our body to heal. And in closing, I'm going to go ahead and make soup here in a minute, but in closing, the thought about exercise. I'm not an exercise expert. I don't claim to be. But they've done a lot and it's proof positive. I took all the information you heard today from this book and from medical doctors, and medical doctors are doing a lot of them are going back to school to be able to prescribe natural remedies and to be able to help people more, because it's against the practice of medicine to prescribe a lot of the natural things. That's why they don't tell you, if you got a headache, well, drink more water. They don't tell you those things. And it's all about money too. If they cure everybody, who's going to come be at the hospital? Or they tell you how to stay healthy, who's going to get sick? These are natural laws we're talking about. May the Lord help you gain an experience for yourself. Be selfish for yourself, not toward others, but for yourself, to live a healthier lifestyle. Do those things that we know and that has been proven. I tell you what, I'll give you a little homework. Take and Google, or you can look it up in other ways, but find out who lives longer, has the healthiest lifestyle, and what their diets are, and where they live, and what their surroundings are, and what their daily activities are. And you will find that those that have the longest life has the best diet. And when the American, it's not in America, I can tell you that. When the American diet is was brought into those areas, and people start partaking of those, they started taking the McDonald's and things that I'll use McDonald's for an example, any burger place would be, but when they start taking the American diet, the high fat and sugar into their diet, their heart attacks went up in the country, their diabetes, all these ailments and all these diseases began to rise in those areas. Before that, they had a healthy lifestyle. So do yourself a little homework, and there's plenty of information out there. What is the healthiest people in the world? Who are the healthiest people in the world? And the areas that they live the longest, and why? Because we want to have a healthy lifestyle. I don't want to retire. I'll be 57 my next birthday. I don't take any medications. I feel pretty healthy now than I ever have, and I don't want to retire from working. I'll probably never retire. I'll do something because I want to stay active. I don't want to my life to slip away and not exercise and move and things like that. So whatever you can for yourself, start somewhere. Is my wish and prayer for you. That if you're a little overweight, start small and build up. If it's cardio and you have heart problems, see your doctor and let him know. Maybe he can help you get on a good program to start you off with. But exercise is very important. What you don't use, you lose. And we all know that, even at a young person. No matter what age you are, you don't use a limb like I had read. You bind an arm, you put your arm in a cast, and you can't use it. People that's broken an arm understand exactly what I'm saying. You don't use that arm. When they take the cast off, it's weaker. They got to build that muscle back up. So whatever we don't use, we lose. Keep that in mind. Make good choices for your life. Is my wish and prayer for you. Amen. And with that, give me just a minute, and we're going to make this soup. Okay, hello, I'm back. And we're going to make a soup today. A soup that is very delicious, and you'll love it. It's an Italian soup, very popular. You see it in restaurant menus sometimes, especially in the summer. It's gazpacho. And a lot of times they'll add different stuff to it, but vegetable gazpacho, it's a raw soup primarily, except for the tomato juice. And if you can juice fresh tomatoes, great time of year here in the summer, juice your fresh tomatoes, and it's even, excellent for you too. Let me get my bowl here. I pre-cut most of the stuff, and I'll tell you what I have here. And I'm just going to mix it in the bowl. It's going to be a quick put together here because I had already cut up everything and brought it with me here today. And just to share with you, I got some basil and croutons to put on top afterwards. So what I have here is a couple of a large fresh diced tomato. I'm going to put in here fresh tomato. I'm going to put cucumber, diced cucumber. I took like a good hunk of cucumber. It depends on how much soup you're making. The more people is going to eat of it, of course, the more ingredients you have. You can make it more soupy or more vegetables or more tomato juice. It depends on what you want. Fresh celery. Let me put these bowls here out of the way. I got some fresh scallions or green onions. I just took one stem and chopped up for this. And I have some peppers here. I got the 3-pack. These are organic red, yellow, and I diced some of the red one up. But any sweet pepper, I prefer the reds and the yellows and the orange versus the green. But you can use green if you want to. And I'm going to put a little bit of garlic here in it. Let me grab a spoon over here. I'm going to grab half a teaspoon of garlic. You can use garlic powder if you want. If you don't like a chunk of garlic or whatever. And you can puree the garlic a little bit finer than what I had. I didn't have any fresh garlic, so I just picked up some diced garlic and water, chopped garlic and water. And tomato juice. This is just tomato juice. Like I said, if you have your fresh tomatoes, you can add them, puree or juice them, and it's much better. But I just have tomato juice here that I'm adding to it. And I'm going to give this a stir with some salt. Put on some Himalayan salt, some good salt. Not a lot, but a little bit. And I like mine with a dash of Cayenne to give it a little bite, but not much, just a little bite in the summer. And I'm going to mix this up. And I got one more ingredient here, some fresh basil. And that I am going to chop up. Fresh basil. Fresh out of the garden. I'm going to save this little stem here in the middle to go in my bowl to garnish it with. But I'm going to take some fresh basil here and I'm going to chop it up. Put that in there like that. Fresh basil. And that's the key to the recipe. You need fresh basil. And I didn't have any parsley. I like to put parsley in it too. So fresh parsley goes very well. Very well. Well, what you have is a nice vegetable soup. I got a ladle here. I'm going to take and just kind of give you an idea what it looks like. And my personal thing I like to do is I like avocado. I'm not going to cut this and put it in there, but I like the avocado. That's not part of the classical recipe, but I like it because they put olive oil in it as a classical recipe, and to substitute that, I put some chopped avocado in it, and it kind of gives it that the fat content that the soup needs. And fresh croutons. If you buy croutons, they're always hard and they almost break your teeth to eat them. Save your bread ends. A lot of people whatever scraps you have. You can save the ends of your bread, and they make great croutons. This is wheat bread, and I just take it and put it in a bowl. And I do put a little bit of oil on them because the herbs won't stick unless they got something there to stick to. They'll just come off the bread. Or a little olive oil spray or whatever, just enough to make it the herbs stick to it. And I put just Italian herbs. You can get a mixed Italian herb, dry herb, or if you have your herbs separate, you can use oregano and basil, thyme, and garlic. I put garlic powder on these and onion powder, and a little salt, and I bake them. But the taste of them is so much better, and the crunch don't break your teeth when you eat them. And it goes real good on the soup here. I got a little pair of tongs here and put them out, so I'm not handling everything. And I'll put a few croutons in the soup, and I'll garnish it with this little piece of basil I had. Yes, and I'll come and get a close-up of this. A delicious soup. It's very good and tasty and healthy, and it's a great summer soup. It's good and cool. It'll cool you down in the summertime, but it's a nice, light, refreshing soup. And make it. Most people like V8. I can say it's very similar to taste with the basil in there. Adds a little bit more. And the croutons, they're very good. I wouldn't put them in too far ahead of time because they'll get soggy on you. So add your croutons right at the last minute so they don't sog up, so you don't eating soggy bread. I like to add a few croutons at a time as I'm eating it myself. But bless you, eat healthy, and may you have take these steps and the things that I'm teaching and learning that I've learned. Not that I'm an expert, but I can tell you these are proven things that help you live a healthier lifestyle, and it's your choice, totally your choice, what kind of life you're going to have as you age.